On September 17th, 1862, the Civil War saw the most amount of casualties it had seen in a single day. And what led us there was 3 cigars. This is Laughs from the Past, and today we're talking about the Battle of Antietam. All right, thanks for joining. It's episode 5 of the Civil War, Laughs from the Past, Season 2, Civil War. This is a season, the 10-episode season. And we just keep going on and on. Last week we did the bands and the music in the Civil War. That was a lot of fun stuff. Today I'm going to be telling Jake all about the Battle of Antietam and the really, really strange circumstances that got us to where it went. How you doing, Jake?
Antietam.
It's a good name, right?
It's a great name.
There's a lot of good battle names in the Civil War, like the Battle of Shiloh, the Battle of Bull Run, Battle of Antietam. Want to know why? Because it's probably the only war that's fought probably one of the only wars fought on American soil. So
right.
So there's American kind of names, whereas World War II is, French names, and Normandy, I guess, is easy to say, but you get what I'm saying.
There's a couple good one out there. Bull Run and Antietam are fun.
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg's up there.
That's pretty good. Shiloh's pretty cool.
You're into Shiloh. I'm not feeling it. Doesn't do anything for me.
What about
Shiloh? Doesn't sound like a war name.
What about the Battle of Chattanooga?
I mean, just the name of a town.
They're all names of towns. Or rivers. Shiloh is so much not a war name that's why it feels
okay, that's your appeal. Okay.
like it's such like Shiloh seems like a pleasant, quiet thing. And it's like, the Battle of Shiloh. It's like, whoa. So we're going to the Battle of Antietam. I'm going to lay a little groundwork for like what's going on thus far.
Lay it.
To get
Lay
there.
it, baby.
Battle of Antietam, we had Bull Run. You got the Battle of Shiloh. You got the second Battle of Bull Run, which the Confederacy really won. And they were picking up steam. But the Confederacy, led by Robert Lee, hadn't gotten into the North yet. They were just defending their territory, with all these battles in the South.
Sure.
So McClellan is in charge of the Northern Army, the Federal Army, the Union Army. And he basically refuses to do anything. He overthinks everything. He refuses to just attack, which pissed Lincoln off because he was like, attack them. Please attack them. And McClellan was kind of like, we'll wait and see. Not sure. Everything's a trap. Blah, blah, blah. Lincoln had a good quote where he said, let me see if I can find this. It's some. I might have to just paraphrase it. Lincoln had a quote like that: McClellan wants to beat the South with strategy, not brute force.
Soft.
Yeah, basically, Lincoln was like, He didn't know anything about war. He was a lawyer. He was like, come on, go fucking kill him.
McClellan or Lincoln?
Lincoln wanted McClellan.
Oh, okay.
And Lincoln said they just wanted to always be strategizing, and they wanted to take Richmond. And Lincoln said, I don't care if you take Richmond. I just want you to take Robert E. Lee's fucking army.
Right.
I don't care where they are.
They were doing a bunch of business meetings instead of actually doing the work at a company.
Yeah, and
they kept doing conference calls to set up more conference calls.
Yes, and McClellan was politicizing his troops, anti-Lincoln, anti-emancipation. He was setting up to become next president. So he wasn't really about that life. And Lincoln wanted him to be. So Lincoln says he wants to find a new commander. This was a goal. He realized that, McClellan's not his dude. So he but he didn't know how, when, what was the right place, because it was McClellan's army. You know what I mean?
Right. Bad timing on that. Then, does McClellan and his army just hop to the south?
Yeah.
Screw you, dude.
Yes. So in reappointing McClellan, Lincoln had expected the Eastern Theater to remain quiet for the moment, and the Confederacy, however, now launched a coordinated invasion in both theaters, the East and the West. So the West is like Pennsylvania, I think, or over there. Not Pennsylvania, but over there. And the East is Virginia, Richmond area, Maryland.
Okay.
And what Lee's trying to do is, if they invade the North and win another major battle, then they might get help from foreign nations. Like, all right, this is legit. They might actually win now. Time to back them. And so this Battle of Antietam has like big consequences on the rest of the war. So now I'm going to get to reading, because this is where it gets very interesting. Okay,
ears on.
Okay, so Robert E. Lee was marching north to go to Antietam area, and he sent Stonewall Jackson, to Harper's Ferry to take over Harper's Ferry and get supplies. So he split the army, and there was no real rush because they knew McClellan doesn't do shit, and no one knew what they were doing, right? So though Jackson was a day behind schedule and McClellan was already at Frederick, Lee did not yet see any reason to panic. McClellan was McClellan after all. Except, of course, when he was in possession of the greatest intelligence leak of the Civil War. The same day, a corporal from Indiana named Barton Mitchell found an envelope containing a sheet of paper wrapped around 3 cigars. The cigars were of excellent quality, something enlisted men rarely got to sample. So these Union soldiers are just chilling in a field, making their way to where they're going, and they find an envelope with 3 cigars inside of it. They just grab the cigars and like, fuck yeah, let's smoke these Confederate cigars.
Barton. Is that his name?
Yeah, Barton Mitchell.
Yeah.
These are great cigars. Before lighting up, Mitchell and another soldier decided to take a closer look at the document that was wrapped around the cigars. It was addressed to D.H. Hill, and it contained the names of prominent Confederate generals and closed with, by command of R.E. Lee. So it was command of R.E. Lee. It was papers.
Could be anyone.
It was signed by Lee's adjutant, R.H. Chilton.
Adjutant?
How do you say that? What is that word?
I don't know. What are the letters?
ADJUTANT. Adjunct? Like an adjunct professor?
Yeah, that's what I got.
I don't know how to pronounce it still. I love finding new words. A military officer who acts as an administrator assistant to a senior officer. Okay, so like an adjunct professor.
Yeah.
Well, here, hold on. Adjutant is what the computer just told me to say.
Adjutant.
So it was signed by, like, he had his proxy basically.
Sure.
So they find these cigars, and news of the find quickly climbed the chain of command. Soon, Major General Alpheus Williams, commanding the Union 12th Corps, was peering at Special Orders 191. That's what these papers were called. Special Orders 191. Later just be called 191. A document that appeared to provide in elaborate detail the movements, whereabouts, and precise strategy of the entire army of Northern Virginia. The order was so detailed, precise, and comprehensive, in fact, rare in war, that some of its original Confederate recipients had taken action to prevent such a leak. Longstreet had put it in his mouth and chewed it up like a plug of tobacco. Walker had pinned it to the inside of his jacket. Jackson had meticulously burned it, and it was a stroke of luck that General Williams' aide, Colonel Samuel Pittman, who had known Chilton well in pre-war Army days, could confirm that it was Lee's chief of staff's handwriting. So I might have to dial back. So everyone on the Confederate side burnt it, ate it up, got rid of it, But eating is awesome. Like, that's like a sitcom movie.
Power play, no-brainer.
So the dude who found it, General Williams' aide, Samuel Pittman, I don't know if you caught this, he knew Chilton before the war. Chilton's the one who signed it.
Okay.
And knowing someone in these days meant you knew their handwriting.
Right.
which is not a thing anymore.
Right. Well, it would be like the equivalent of knowing someone's like text pattern.
That's true. Do they use ellipses? Do they capitalize? Do they
Yeah.
do U or do they do YOU? Yeah.
Emojis, exclamation points, ... dots.
I'm not an emoji user.
I think if it's well timed, I think people abuse them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder, there's all those they caught the Unabomber by reading his manifesto and determining where he went to school by the punctuation he used and where he learned to write by some of the spellings of words that have multiple ways you can spell them. It'd be so cool to have like something I write analyzed. Not handwriting, because I don't really believe in that, but just like that. Like, can you tell the region I learned school from the way I use punctuation and shit?
Your dialect, how you've written other papers and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So McClellan and all these guys thought it was like a fake, because like we've seen in season 1 of Laughs from the Past, there's so many decoys. We have fake bodies. We had fake like armies in general, World War II.
Right.
But this guy's like, no, I know Chilton's handwriting.
This it?
Yeah. So McClellan understood immediately what he had. After reading it, he threw his hands in the air and exclaimed, "Now I know what to do." Yeah, now you do.
It's a relief.
Later that same day, he was in the tent chatting with his old Army friend, Brigadier General John Gibbon, and another officer when he pulled the folded orders from his pocket. "Here is a paper with which, if I cannot whip Bobby Lee, I will be willing to go home," he told them. "It gives the movement of every division of Lee's army." He then vowed to put Lee in a position he will find hard to get out of, and noted that Castiglione will be nothing to it, which was his reference to the Battle of Castiglione in Italy. It always weirds me out, like, that they knew the history of Italy well. It makes sense. They went to school and stuff.
Right. Like, that was their education, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. The message of 191 was perfectly clear. Lee had divided his army and separated units and could thus be attacked and beaten in detail. It was probably the greatest single military opportunity of the war. McClellan wired Lincoln saying, "I think Lee has made a gross mistake and that he will be severely punished for it. I have all the plans of the rebels and will catch them in their own trap if my men are equal to the emergency."
Okay, McClellan, this is what we've been waiting for.
He then proceeded to sit on the information for 18 hours. And
Don't have that time back then.
And did nothing. At about 5 p.m. that same day, Jeb Stuart received a provocative piece of intelligence. A Confederate sympathizer happened to be standing near McClellan's tent when he received a copy of Special Orders 191 and had described McClellan's reaction. Though the spy did not fully understand what had happened, it was clear McClellan certainly knew something. Spies blow my mind every time I find out they're like a real thing.
Right.
And the fact that information could travel these times in a day, like maybe I'm just grossly underestimating this time period. Like I didn't think they were smart and like they knew about like Napoleon and stuff. And I didn't know that they could send messages by day. I mean, trains did exist, but still, a day?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I have no idea. How do you do that? Those are people's jobs.
Yeah, couriers and just like ride real fast.
You'd enjoy being a courier.
So then Lee knows McClellan is onto him, right?
Right.
So Lee had told that Brigadier General would not be prepared for offensive for 3 weeks. Now, in his amazement, McClellan's army pushed its way forward through 3 passes of South Mountain. Anyway, so there's the big Battle of Antietam, which is the single bloodiest day in the war. Okay? Do you know who do you think won?
Antietam. I mean, with the lead up, I'd assume the North, but now that you asked me that question, I would say the South, just the way you phrased it.
So, the South did not get into the North. They ended up retreating.
Okay.
So it's known as a Northern victory. But the experts and the historians will say, and the people at the time will say, McClellan could have like done damage, like ended the war.
Right.
But he was totally fine just pushing them back into the South and never proceeded. He rested his men and let them like reassemble. So the North won, but it wasn't. McClellan still botched it.
Right. It's like, what's the good comparison here? Should have been a blowout victory, skated by it with a buzzer beating win.
Yeah. So the Union had 75,000 men, and the Confederates had 40,000. So Lee's strategy changed, and he just wanted to hold his line to delay because he needed Stonewall Jackson to get from Harper's Ferry with the men, the second part of his army, and all the things. And McClellan got in his own head about that and just assumed that the South he assumed they were so outnumbered. And they weren't. They had almost twice as many men. But he assumed that they had more. So McClellan just didn't really he just never cut the throat. There was a lot of flanking, just a lot of
trying to be a politician.
I watched a YouTube video of the war and how the armies moved around. There's so much flanking. Everyone's just
flanking must have been so cool at the time.
Yeah, it's like the hot word of the street. Flank them.
Yeah, instead of running right at them, we flank them. You come around them.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like the forward pass in football.
General, what do you want us to do? Flank them.
Oh, totally. Some generals just rolled. Flank them was their only play.
Yeah, we'll flank them, and then we'll flank them on the other side. It's actually
the old Battle of Hamburger Hill.
It's what McClellan did. He came at him on the right side with one army, and then he came at him on the left side a little bit after that, and then he just destroyed them in the middle.
Know what I would have been good for?
What's that?
I would have been well, and this would have been bad for some of my men. I would have been the fake flank.
Okay.
Like I would have made it appear that we were sending everyone to the right side, and they'd be like, "They're flanking on the right. They're flanking on the right." Nope. Boom.
The center, when they really destroyed the center, it became known as Bloody Lane.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't like that, right?
Don't love it.
All right, so
it just means a lot of dead people.
So what does Lincoln have to do now? This should have been a big victory, but it's still a victory. But
yeah, he's kind of. I keep going back to the sports metaphors. It's one of those things you want to fire your coach for, but it's like he's still got the dub.
Yeah. So at this point, McClellan lack of aggressiveness has driven Lincoln to say, I'm doing everything it takes. I am going to win this war no matter what I have to do. I think his exact quote is I will not stop. I will not be beaten until every card I have is turned over.
Yeah, sure. I think that like to think that's what both sides of the war normally say.
Well, but Lincoln is the president, and he's dealing with slavery. So after this Battle of Antietam, Lincoln writes the Emancipation Proclamation.
Oh wow!
Because he wanted a victory, so that so it wasn't like a move in defeat. It wasn't a reaction to losing. But it was, he thought the victory was a good time, and it was his way of getting foreign support. Because by doing this, he freed all the slaves, which obviously they're slaves of the South, so they're not really free. But when the Union wins, they will be free.
Right.
Europe and Britain was pretty anti-slavery, so by Lincoln doing this, he builds up his army now because he can recruit former slaves, to fight and black population to fight. He gets support of the foreign nation, and he really pins this is about slavery on the South, which no foreign government now wants to support them because they're just fighting for slavery.
They've recently tapped out on slavery.
Yeah, so there was some hesitation about it. One critic said that this proclamation is not that a human being cannot justly own another, but that he cannot own him unless he is loyal to the United States. Like, you're not punishing slaveholders, you're punishing Southern slaveholders. And it's like,
Right.
well. Yeah, this is an Abraham Lincoln book, says McClellan had checked Lee's invasion, but he had fumbled the best opportunity of the war to annihilate Lee's army. So Lincoln releases McClellan 2 months after this. He went and visited him at Potomac, I think it is. He went and visited him and saw him and was like, "What the fuck, man? Like,
Right.
What was
We had the numbers.
what was that about?" On September 22nd, he issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. Under its terms, Lincoln gave the rebel states 100 days to return to their loyalty to the United States. If they did not do so, he announced he would issue a proclamation on January 1st, freeing the slaves in the areas that were still in rebellion.
Sure, Abe.
Not bad. Yeah. This is the quote. Lincoln had indicated that he would not surrender this game, leaving any available card unplayed. He now adopted new, more stringent policies for the prosecution of war. Shortly after issuing his preliminary proclamation, Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus throughout the North for the duration of the war for any loyalist practice, and for the first time authorized military trials of civilians accused of anti-war efforts. So you ain't with us, you're fucking against us. He called for 600,000 more volunteers. He resorted to a questionable interpretation of law, reorganizing the militia to impose a draft on states that failed to fill their enlisted quotas. And he quietly authorized the War Department to begin recruiting black soldiers in the South. He's all in. This Battle of Antietam, it got him so pissed off that McClellan was a politician, not a war general. And he was like, I got to do all this myself.
Right.
He was all in. So
wanted to get some done right.
Yeah. So then some elections happen, right? And after the elections, he's able to just like, you're done, McClellan. Get out of here, dude.
Right.
I just don't even want you around anymore, because he wouldn't pursue Lee. So he promotes Burnside. He promotes
your boy.
Yeah. This is pretty funny, dude. Burnside protested that he was unfit for the position. It took him a little more than a month to prove the accuracy of his assessment.
Been there. Live there.
Abe, my dude. This ain't for me.
Abe, I love you. And I'll try it if this is what you want. But I'm going to be bad. You're going to regret this, Abe.
Yeah. Lincoln was overcome with despair when he learned the true magnitude of the Union's reverse, and the Northern's press raised a chorus of denunciation against Lincoln, Burnside, and the administration. Harper's Weekly, normally a loyal Republican sheet, admonished that the people have borne silent and grimly imbecility, treachery, failure, privation, loss of friends and means, but they cannot be expected to suffer that such massacres as this as Fredericksburg shall be repeated. So they're calling Lincoln out now. Like, dude, now you're in trouble. You wanted the whole responsibility. Lincoln responded, "If there is a worse place than hell, I am in it." Pretty good quote.
Yeah.
This sucks.
You think I'm having a good time? I am not.
The next people started to like trying to resign, and Lincoln rejected the resignations. Like, nope. You're here.
It's got to be a bad feeling.
Yeah. So this is the biggest like thing after Battle of Antietam and the proclamation. This is what changed, as a sentence that sums it up. Both sides understood that the war had been fundamentally transformed, that the Union was no longer fighting to restore the old Union, but to create a new one. Basically, like flip the switch on the South. Like, now you fucked up so bad that when we beat you,
Yeah.
you don't get anything that you already had. You should have just waited it out.
We crossed the point.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to find. There's another. After Burnside, he has another person that he hires eventually till he gets to Ulysses S. Grant, which we'll talk about later. But
I know that guy.
you know that guy. Ulysses S. Grant's pretty cool. He was like a drunk, down and out dude before he came up. He also like didn't understand what Lincoln wanted. He didn't want to go to the East because he didn't want to have to deal with the politics of it all. And eventually became president. Lincoln was like, no, I need you to go to the East. I need you to fucking beat Lee. Because Lee's the best ever, and he's killing us.
Is Ulysses S. Grant one of the first ever, like, broken hero characters?
Could be.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's like the guy from Hoosiers. He's like the drunk assistant coach who then has to be the head coach. Shooter. I think his name is Shooter.
Because I just think any hero in history usually wasn't the broken hero.
Yeah. No, maybe we'll do an episode. I want to do an episode on Jackson, which I've been talking about. Maybe we'll do a little bit on Grant, too. I'll find more information. But
Ulysses is a pretty good name.
Is that a name anymore?
I think if you want it, but like, I think it's like a LeBron type thing. I mean, there's one Ulysses that people reference in time now.
Yeah, Ulysses is a very, very odd name. Jake, do you know what the Rebel Yell is?
Rebel Yell!
One of the most effective weapons of the Confederate side was the Rebel Yell, a shrill cry that helped rally the troops as well as frighten and disorient the enemy. Historians believe the Rebel Yell was first heard during the First Battle of Bull Run in July 1861. After nearly 14 hours of fighting, a corps of soldiers under Pierre G.T. Beauregard began a counterattack against Union forces and launched the now famous Wail. When the Union forces saw and heard what was coming at them, they panicked and fled in retreat. The Rebel Yell was heard during nearly every major battle. There's some YouTube videos of old men that are like 90 years old trying to recreate it in 1920, like some like old videos.
I have the pleasure of announcing to you that we are going to make an effort to repeat the old Rebel Yell. 1, 2, 3. Charge 'em, boys, charge 'em. We'll now give you the individual there, Captain James Dinkin. General Stevens.
Feel like they're between like horse and elephant or horse and pig or something.
It would be scary hearing like fucking 17.
Hearing 10,000 people do that? That'll freak you out.
How pissed do you think the bands were? Like, I fucking hate that Rebel Yell, dude.
Shut that yell up.
Playing drums over here, dude.
Can't hear my sousaphone.
And so it's pretty, this is a short episode, but it is pretty wild that the biggest turning point comes from a reluctant leader who has the biggest tip in the world. The whole
right.
And what really blows my mind, and it's like, can it really just be that simple that the Southern Army came through and left an envelope on the field? These are huge fields. You know what I mean? Like huge fields. And then the North comes by and lays in the same exact square of grass.
I guess this is one of my questions. Like, why we mentioned this letter was so valuable. How did this one get away? You mentioned one of the Southern guys burned his copy of the letter because he thought it was so valuable. This one is just unopened with a couple stogies?
He wrapped his cigars in it. He cared more about his cigars than the letters, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
whose was it though?
I don't think we know because I think he'd have to be. I don't think you would admit to it. No, I ate mine too.
Yeah, good call.
Couldn't be mine. I just shit it out yesterday. You want to see? No, come here. I'll show you. Like, okay, we believe you. We believe you. And he's like,
believe you.
Phew, because that was mine.
Thank God.
That was mine. That was. I really blew it. I really.
Yeah, let me light up one of these. Oh boy.
Dude, yeah, it's like a fake movie scene. Hey, look at these cigars. What's that? It's the entire Rebels plan. It's too good to be true. I almost don't believe it.
Too good to be true, yeah.
Put this on
Sounds like a trap.
Put this on my long list. Yeah, McClellan. Yeah, man, I don't think I'd make a good war general because I'm too cynical. Like if I'm McClellan, that's a trap. That's 100% a trap. And then when the guy says no, I know that handwriting. I knew that guy. That's his handwriting. You're a spy, and now you're in jail.
Right. You'd essentially turn against your own army and throw everyone in jail.
You're all lying to me.
It's a bad tactic.
You were just walking along the field. You found some cigars lying there.
Okay, spy, you're dead.
That brings another element into the war, like just leaving shit behind because you know the other army's coming. That's a thing that happens in all wars. Like they shit in their trenches and stuff in World War I and II before they left, which is really funny. That's pretty funny. Well, we're heading out of here. Let's shit in these trenches.
Yeah, let's really ruin these. That's
subtle, non-dangerous pranks to play those in the middle of like when you're like murdering people. Pretty good.
It's modern warfare.
I think I love a good war prank. I think that's where I'm at.
You'd say that about yourself. Love a good war prank.
Like there's one dude who's just trying to pull pranks and everyone else is like, yo, we're trying to kill them.
Yeah, you make that guy into a movie character because then like one time you like kill someone in his pile of shit he created.
Yeah.
Like a spy was about to kill them in the middle of the night and then they suffocate him in his prank poo pile.
That's
PPP.
like the guy that we did from season 1 who went in World War II with a bow and arrow. And it's like, buddy, what are you doing?
Yeah. No thanks. Fake MacGyver, even though we don't know who that is yet in time.
Yeah. All right. So the Battle of Antietam, cool name, big battle. Then there's some bigger battles because now this didn't immediately lead to Grant, but it led to a secession where Lincoln was trying desperately to find a new and a good leader. Because Lincoln wanted to be hands-off about the plans. Like he didn't want to be smothering his generals with like the day-to-day plans. But McClellan would just refuse to do anything.
Right.
So like at the end, like Lincoln told Grant, like, I don't want to interfere with your day-to-day. But the only thing Lincoln did interfere with was politics. Like he wouldn't let Grant rearrange some people on some higher ups because they were like Lincoln sympathizers and supporters. But as far as battle plans, he was like, all yours, which is all you wanted. It's like as long as you're trying to win, we're cool.
Just win the war, and I'm cool with you.
Yeah. So McClellan, I don't know what McClellan did after the war. I'm gonna do a quick search, find what McClellan did.
When you say Battle of Antietam was, I mean, the bloodiest battle, I get that.
Well, Gettysburg hadn't happened yet. Up at its day.
How many days was the battle? Is this like a 12-hour shebang? Is it like a week?
I think it was a couple days, but most of the damage happened like real quick. Might have been a one-day battle here. It's Sharpsburg, Maryland. It took place in. Isn't that pretty wild?
So what the hell is Antietam?
Antietam's a river.
Okay.
Antietam was a little river. Fought on September 17th, 1862. So yeah, it was just like a one-day event. I mean, there's like leading up and getting there and all that stuff, but there's some cool YouTube videos where they show the actual like battle maps and stuff. I can't do that on a podcast, so I don't even really try.
Right.
But it's pretty wild how they worked. Like I don't even get it like I said, I underestimate all these times in past history.
Okay, so I guess that was going to be my question. If someone threw on the battle tactics of Antietam, would you be impressed?
Impressed is not the most proper word. So not impressed with the strategy.
Okay.
Impressed with just like, oh yeah, they just really fucking went at each other. Because like we said, the strategy was basically like go flank them.
Right.
But there's that one point where McClellan had a whole second battalion or whatever behind him. They didn't call in Sumter's like army, he had 3 companies basically, or whatever, and he only took 1 in to attack, and he had 2 others just in the back. So he takes 1 in to go flank the Confederates, and this whole Confederate group just like nope, and just pushes them way the fuck back. And it's like they could have destroyed them because they had twice as many people, but they were hesitant because they thought they had half as many people.
Damn you, McClellan.
Just needed someone in a hot air balloon waving around.
Signaling.
There had to be some eccentric dude who's like, I'm going to go up, watch the battle in this hot air balloon. How fucking cool would that be?
Being a good tree climber was probably a big quality back then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was a big quality in World War II, too. My favorite scene from Band of Brothers involves climbing a tree. But they did have balloons in Civil War. They tried like an air army, air force with hot air balloons.
It's hilarious.
That might be a fun tidbit I do at the end because we're collecting questions. I have a ton of books. So if you have any questions about Civil War, battles, life, soldiers' life, whatever, I have a ton of books that I've been skimming through, and that's fun for me. So at the end of this, this is episode 5, so we're halfway through. So that'll be fun. All right, so that's the Battle of Antietam. Turning point in the war. This was a little more history than fun. Bands was a little more fun than history. They'll go back and forth. But that's the end of the show. Jake, what's your favorite thing you learned? I guess just the overall thing.
Hearing Antietam was a river was big for me. I don't know. I guess like what you're talking about, like how does that happen? How can you be so meticulous with everything that guys are eating it, guys are setting it on fire? Like this is the most intense, detailed stuff we have, and then there's still some Joe Schmo, and maybe it wasn't a Joe Schmo. It could have been like Bob Lee, who drops his main instructions saying everything.
Yeah, it is.
You can't do that. That's not a winning play.
You can't drop. Yes, you can.
That's an all-time fumble.
I've never done a tour of like battlefields, like the Civil War tour. This is really going to be something I'm going to want to do now after doing all this research.
Yeah, I'm surprised, and maybe it's a Northeast thing for us, but I mean, we've been hammered with Gettysburg and a lot of that. Well, I guess more so myself living my whole duration in the Northeast. But like I found out Antietam was a river today. Like, I don't know. I've been to Maryland a bunch. Nobody's been like, yo, got to check out Antiques.
Yeah, I think it actually wasn't a river. It was like a runoff or a stream or something like that. Even weirder. That was Bull Run. Bull Run. It was not even a river. It was like a little runoff. I don't know. There's a historic photograph paintings called the Dead of Antietam.
The Dead of Antietam.
I'm trying to find it. There's bridges over Antietam. Yeah, it was a little like I don't know what they call. I don't know all my bodies of waters. Whatever.
Well, come on about
creek. They're calling it a creek.
This is kind of fun. You might want to put this somewhere. Sending it to you now.
Oh, this is the battle plans? Yeah, that is cool.
This is cool to me.
Yeah, so this is what the YouTube video is, but in moving parts.
Right.
And I just speed it up and watch it on 1.5 speed. And then it's like the battle's happening really fast. And it's cool.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, dude. That's exactly what it was. It's pretty cool. So let's like the Antietam Creek is still there. You can look up Antietam Creek on Google Images and you see a little creek and there's people tubing down it and shit. That's wild. That is so cool. I want to go
grab a sixer.
I want to go do that shit now. All right. Well, thank you very much. So we kind of dazed off into just a normal conversation there at the end. Yeah. That is Laughs from the Past, the Battle of Antietam. 3 cigars and a bad military leader led to the Emancipation Proclamation, led to Ulysses S. Grant saying, let me at him, coach. Put me in. I'm ready to play. That's it. Thank you very much for joining. Rate, review, subscribe. Stay tuned. We got some more fun stuff coming from the Civil War. And put your questions in the reviews. Bye. Say bye, Jake.
Bye, Jake.
Bye.